Speaker, I yield the floor to Representative Gallup Franklin.
Representative Gallup Franklin, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I know for a fact, without a doubt, when crafting this legislation, it was crafted with good intentions to help save life and to be a voice for the voiceless. But when I start thinking about life in itself at the 7-week, 8-week, 9-week, 10-week space, it's truly an extension of life of the mother at that point in time. We're talking about a space where if you were to remove the child from the mother's womb at even 9 weeks, we don't have good enough science to keep that child alive for the longer term. And so when we talk about it being an extension of life, it's truly my belief that a woman should have the free will to make the best decisions for her body in totality. If you even think about organs, if you remove a heart, it stops beating. There's times where you can be considered brain dead. And so because of those facts, even though I understand the good intentions of this bill in reference to trying to protect life, it's very much so still connected to the body of the woman. And one difficult part I have sometimes in the debate and the discussion is when we start to criminalize women for having to make one of the most difficult decisions in their life. You heard my colleague talk about how difficult it was as she was trying to make a very difficult decision for her life. I personally know women who have had to make that tough decision. And when they make that tough decision, they don't do it having fun about it. They don't go and party that night after maybe conducting the abortion. It's one of the most difficult decisions that a woman makes in her entire life. And it's not done hastily in any type of imagination. And so that's why I think it's so important to focus on the support services. If a woman knew what all her options were in the very beginning, if we had seamless adoption services, obviously it costs almost $60,000 to adopt in Florida. If we had psychological support, financial support to make sure that they can still finish college or go get a degree to no longer be in poverty. Those are the things that we could be looking at legislating to ensure that women truly do have an option to make the best choice that's within their need. Now, obviously, we talked about my amendment earlier, and that amendment was about making sure that only one physician was required to diagnose a fatal fetal abnormality. And so this legislation is going to truly impact a lot of our rural communities. We all know that healthcare deserts exist throughout the state of Florida. And with that, and with the timeline that we have of 6 weeks, it's going to be very difficult for some people just to have one appointment with one physician. If you just think about it, people who go to the doctor for primary care, or even cardiology or oncology, oftentimes you see who? Your nurse practitioner. How many of us really get to sit down with the physician for simple disease states? And so we look at something like this where 2 physicians are required. We know that's truly going to have an impact on healthcare. And I know some people might not think abortion care is healthcare, but the truth of the matter is, the reason why it is because in the world, half of the abortions that happen in the world happen in an unsafe environment and are unsafe abortions. Now, yes, I'm including America in developing countries because once this bill does pass, our access to abortion care is going to be mitigated and almost not even existent. So we too are going to have a ton of unsafe abortions. And just think about the scenario that we're could be creating with this legislation. Just put yourself in the shoes of a young girl growing up in the trailer park. Mother strung out on meth. Father's a truck driver. Obviously, all she hears about is going to school, social mobility, being able to provide for her future family. Making it to college one day and meets a young boy that sells her a dream and says, hey, if we do some activities, I'll love you a little bit better. And obviously gets pregnant, has to make a tough decision. Does she continue to have the child? Or does she fight for her right in her future to try to secure a promising future? Oftentimes, when women are making this decision, they're having to make a decision based off of their future family and their ability to lift themselves and their future family out of poverty. And so I'll be honest, I'm a benefactor of people who have gone to get an abortion. There's very, very close family members of mine that I dearly love, friends of mine that I dearly love as well, that would not be here today if their parent, their mother, would have gone through with the abortion. I've got 2 or 3 stories of close people I love very, very dearly. And even with knowing that people that I love dearly would not be here today if their mother would have gone through once being in the chair for that abortion, I still believe that the free will of that mother and her rights still takes priority. And so I'm here to say I do value life. And I'll be honest, I've been called a Christian nationalist during this legislative session. I don't know about the nationalist part, but I know I'm a Christian. I was baptized at 9 years old. I'm such a Christian, I've visited Jerusalem before. I've actually sat right where Jesus was crucified on the cross for the sins of this world. And in that moment, I knew without a doubt why God gave us free will. God was never about legislating morality. If he truly had the desire to make sure that this world was sinless, he would have done it on day one. And so I ask members, as we do consider this legislation, I just ask that we not legislate to restrict women's free will. Because we all know when you force someone to love you, you force someone to do something, it truly does not have the impact or the value of so. And with that, member, I ask you to save lives. I ask you to ensure that women can be healthy in the state of Florida. And please vote down on this bill that does have good intentions. Thank you.